Hey guys, and welcome to the Defiant, your essential resource for everything to do with decentralized finance. Decentralized as in not centralized. Got it? I'm gonna give you 3 tips right now on how to get your life in order, wear clean underwear, and... Of course not. That's not how we roll here. This is the Defiant. We do things differently. Today, we are gonna show you how to win at DeFi, but not like that. Stay tuned after this message from our sponsors. Siren is a decentralized platform for trading cryptocurrency options. And for those that don't know options that well, as a trader, you can participate in market upside while limiting your risk by buying options on your favorite DeFi tokens. As a liquidity provider, passively earn rewards when people bet on the markets, and you can also earn rewards from the option premiums and SI rewards themselves. Siren removes the middleman and gives the power to run markets directly to you, the DeFi community. So to trade DeFi options or become a liquidity provider, check out Siren by clicking the link in the description. And we're back. I'm sorry to do that to you. I just see so many videos where people promise to tell you something, and they give you 3 reasons to do it, 5 reasons to do it. And they're playing that beautiful algorithm game for YouTube. Yes, it was a joke. But no, there are ways to set yourself up for winning at DeFi. And I guess most of them are to do with not losing at DeFi, which is also very easy to do. So we're just gonna go through 12 or 13, I don't even know how many it is, tips, if I don't know, what do you call it? Just things that I do to help me get through the day in DeFi. And at least we will do. There we go. So if we want to really think about winning at DeFi, we actually have to define what winning actually means. And this is quite hard for some people to do. You know, people come into crypto with $300 and they want to leave with $3,000. That's 10x. That is a win. At least it feels like a win. And then maybe it isn't enough of a win because they see people with considerably larger portfolios and they think that's what winning looks like. So it's really important to define for yourself what winning actually is. What does that look like? You can set goals for yourself, like I'm going to pay off my credit card or I'm going to pay off my mortgage. What we're looking for here is the money that we have IRL, the systems that we have IRL are probably underserving you. And the goal here is to make them serve you better. That's it. That's what decentralized finance can do when it's at its most pure. It can just make your money do more for you. And it does it in a decentralized way because we have these incredible wizards building smart contracts that can do amazing things. But fundamentally, yes, it's that. And then there's this qualitative versus quantitative thing. So I want more money. That's quantitative. Or I would like to know more about my money. Or I'd like to understand my money better. That's qualitative. See the difference? 2 different things. Most people, I imagine, would go in with quantitative goals. They want more of something. They would like to have more. They would like a better APY. But the qualitative side, also very important. So define winning for yourself. That's a good start. Then define DeFi for yourself. What is it? When we talk about decentralization, it's presented to us as a switch. Something is decentralized or it's not. But that's not the case. This sliding scale. Bitcoin is more decentralized than Ethereum, but what does that even mean? And decentralization is this kind of theatrical metric that is held up as a sign of what is good and best about DeFi. But as we know, a lot of the protocols that we see currently are monopolized by a small number of whales that own a large proportion of the tokens involved and therefore have a disproportionate amount of say in the future organization direction of a protocol. Is that decentralized? No, it's not. What we're looking for really is innovation through DeFi. So to land on the decentralized part of it could be a false dawn. David Z. Morris has actually written a bunch of really interesting articles recently in CoinDesk, which I really enjoyed. And I think it's worth definitely reading them, talking about regulation around DeFi and how the SEC may pierce the veil of decentralization theater by going after individuals. So there's this idea that if you're decentralized, no one can touch you. We saw launches of certain protocols where they just said, yeah, we're decentralized. It just kind of got launched and you can't come after us now. It looks like that may not be the case. So There may be examples to be made of certain protocols that have done that. So ask yourself this question: what is DeFi to you? Because it's not the same for everybody. And I think it's important to keep it real here. Are we rebuilding the financial system here? Well, no, I don't think we are. We're creating alternatives to the financial system. Yes, that we definitely are doing. There's definitely the opportunity to have a say. You know, DeFi could be just a casino for you. That's also fine. You're allowed to gamble if you're old enough, that is anyway. But it's your money. You can decide what to do with it. If you want to gamble, if you want to go and just, chase 20,000% APYs in obscure farms, that's up to you. And if you enjoy doing it, then good for you. Maybe it's show me the JPEGs. You just like NFTs. Well, that's also part of DeFi now, as we've hopefully shown you over the course of the last few months. For me personally, it's about resistance. And that's not, some kind of flag waving, marching in the streets definition of resistance. It's more just there are certain forces in the world which are eroding the value that we create, and they're all over the place. There could be the encroachment of technology, that things are becoming cheaper and easier, and they're eating the job that you do. We know that middle-class jobs are seriously under threat by AI, for instance. Or it could be the government's devaluing your currency by printing trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars worth of it. Yeah, that's a threat. So DeFi offers a way to be resistant to whatever might be eroding the value that we have created, because it's your value at the end of the day. So that's really what I'm talking about when I'm saying define DeFi for yourself. Because if you can't do that, then why are you in it? And how can you decide for yourself what your place within it should be and what it is that you're actually interested in doing? That leads back to defining goals as well, but defining DeFi and being in a position, if someone asks you to say DeFi is blank, 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 and then well, that's a good place to start. Now, everybody at the Defiant team would articulate it a different way, but for me, it's about resistance. Challenge all assumptions. I always say this to people. It's kind of part of my 3 big kind of ideas I try and keep in my head, which is keep it real, challenge your assumptions, and be the one. But challenge your assumptions is really important, because I think one of the things that we tend to find in blockchain and crypto is that people are really drawn to this space because it offers them an alternative. The assumptions that we have long held about the financial system that we work within, about work and everything else, this is starting to crumble around us. And so we have to challenge those assumptions. We end up in blockchain or crypto and we think, wow, this is it. And then you start to kind of cluster around certain projects that you like and certain ideas that you like because they feel familiar. And that's normal. Crypto is chaotic. It's difficult to find your place within it. Finding a way to get comfortable within that is normal. That's human. But what it starts to do is it starts to reinforce certain assumptions that you have. We seek comfort amid chaos. And so it's really important just to check your own internal sentiment. Get good at checking your own temperature. If you're starting to feel really cozy, if you're starting to feel really kind of comfortable where you are in a certain protocol or a certain ecosystem, I think it's important to think about whether you're wrong, because strong convictions can be misleading. And there's this idea of sunk cost fallacy, which isn't really a problem during bull markets, but it's a massive problem during bear markets, because people invest money, yes, into protocols, coins, tokens, whatever, but they also invest emotionally. And those emotional investments are very, very hard to sell. Obviously, there's no financial involvement, but cutting ties with the project, cutting ties with something you're emotionally invested in is extremely difficult. And especially if you've held on for a long period of time through a downturn, it can be almost impossible to deprogram yourself from believing that actually, yes, I know I'm right. So this idea of what if I'm wrong thinking can really help you just say, okay, so I believe I'm right about whatever situation I'm in, but let's put the case, what if I'm wrong? And that will help you think, okay, what if this stablecoin is not backed by what I think it is? What if this protocol is not immune to the SEC the way we've believed it was, for example? So it's really important to hedge your biases, and it's fine to have biases. I, for example, am biased towards Terra. I think Terra has so much to offer us, but I'm also aware of the fact that that is a path to misleading myself. So I'm on the lookout for places where I can go, okay, if not Terra, then what? If Terra doesn't turn out to be what I think it is,
then what? Hence, looking at Akalo, looking at the Polkadot ecosystem, Avalanche as well, Harmony's doing some really interesting things. I think it's important to have those options up your sleeve and to think in that way. But again, that's just me. One of the things I've realized about this space is that nobody really knows anything. This idea that we know stuff, we know it to be right. The blockchain is brilliant at bamboozling us into thinking that everything is transparent, that we know everything. But of course we don't. How could we possibly know everything? What this space is also very good at is allowing us to form opinions about stuff and clustering around people who also form opinions about stuff and then make videos about them, like me, for instance. I think only a very, very, very small fraction of people in this space really have an understanding of what is actually going on here. And we do have tools like Nansen. We will have the Defiant terminal as well that will give you insight into the data. But it's also very easy to draw the wrong conclusion from that data. How many pretty pictures of charts have you seen where you see a thesis drawn on the chart? Does it ever play out that way? Very seldom, in fact. So it's important to get a balanced diet of information sources. Some people will be right some of the time, and a lot of people won't be right most of the time. But you have to kind of give yourself at least an opportunity to receive information from different sources. And particularly information that contradicts with each other. But that's just, normal good research. I really wish the presentation would work. So here are some suggestions of places where you can go to find some information. This is where I go to look for my information. This is generally what I've done over the last 6 months to kind of orient myself in this space. And as you'll see, it's not a long list because, to be perfectly honest with you, I find very, very, very few sources of information that I can genuinely trust or that I think has any value or use to me. And I think that's a good thing. So this is not exhaustive by any stretch. There are some sources in there that I haven't put in because they're not specifically DeFi. There's some metaverse ones, for instance, like Andrew Steinwald, for instance, good source. But the Daily Ape, which you can find on Telegram, DeFi Prime, which you can find on Telegram, and Lobster DAO, which you can find on Telegram. The Daily Ape is just a kind of collected list of interesting things that have been spotted by Darren Lau, who runs that in the world of DeFi. DeFi Prime, fewer aggregated bits of content, but again, useful headlines and things that to give you a sense of what's going on. And then Lobster DAO is basically where kind of most of the really woke and sophisticated builders and developers, lawyers as well, anyone in DeFi or was in DeFi 2.5 years ago when all of this was, nothing that anyone had heard of, they're in Lobster DAO. So you get this very high level of chat and very high level of information being talked about. And also the young man that runs it, Ivan, he just deletes and bans anyone who shills anything. So it's really just conversation and debate about kind of high level topics. That's where you will find some great information. And then on YouTube, Findmatics is a very good channel, breaking stuff down and giving you kind of simple explainers on things. DeFi Dad gives you some great tutorials as well. He's done some stuff for the channel here as well and writes for the newsletter from time to time. Bankless, kind of almost like a brother-in-arms, really, channel. They have their own DAO, they have their own token, they have a really strong community geared around just being a self-sovereign citizen and being in charge of your own financial future, and some really, really great content there. Good live streams. And then the Delphi podcast. Delphi actually helped create the tokenomics for Harmony when I was there. That's how I got a chance to meet those guys. I've actually met them in person, which makes a big difference. Same thing with Ivan at Lobster. Met him in person, had a long chats with him. Like, it gives me a bit of confidence. Delphi are involved in many of the projects on the Terra ecosystem. They bought an Axie when nobody was buying Axies. They have some good people on there, and they have some very smart minds. Again, taken as a whole, there's some good alpha in there, but it needs to be taken as a whole. And then there's the Defiant. Well, that's us. So this is a very small chance for us to kind of pitch our own service. So we were founded by Camilla Russo, who wrote The Infinite Machine, which is an account of the early days of Ethereum, So she had a chance to go and interview them. And off the back of that research and the inquiries that she made, she came to an understanding that DeFi was going to be probably the most disruptive element of blockchain and that had the greatest opportunity to break through and do something in real life. So she formed the Defiant, and it was just her writing the newsletter. And over time, she's grown it, she's gained investment, and now we have a research arm, we have a newsletter, we have obviously the YouTube channel, and we are going to have a data platform coming soon, which will give you a really good one-stop shop for understanding DeFi-specific data with different dashboards that you can put together. There'll be a social component to it as well, so you can connect with people who are specifically in the DeFi space. And that's the whole point of the data. It's the data on its own is good, but having the ability to discuss that data, the implications of that data, and then form strategies around that data with people who also think the same way is really where that is going. So obviously that's a big shield for the Defiant. Again, take it with a pinch of salt, add it to the other ones on this list, and hopefully that will be of some use. One of the things I think is really important is to learn to love stable assets. So, there are lots of different stable coins out there. I've listed a few here: USDC, BUSD, DAI, Frax, and UST. But Ohm is a project that's really intrigued me over the last few months. This is about growing purchasing power despite market conditions. And I guess the reason I'm so intrigued by stablecoins is just having been through the bear market, 2017 to 2020. I just wish I'd known this stuff back then. I wish I had been more savvy about all of that. I mean, I guess it's one of those things you have to go through. You have to go through a big downturn. If we have the super cycle, then maybe this doesn't matter anymore. But to me, it does matter because this is the heart of DeFi. It's the spine of DeFi. It's what I can tell my mum about and say, listen, there's a place for you in this, and it looks like this. And it's something that I can actually help people understand. Ohm is the next stage above that, but Ohm is one of those weird and wonderful things where you go, oh my gosh, can we really do that? And the answer is yes, you can. Is it sustainable over the long run? We'll have to see. But stablecoins and an investigation and understanding of stablecoins, I think, is essential. Understanding why USDC is centralized and why they can freeze certain wallets, essential. And why an algorithmic stablecoin like UST, one that is defined by software and preset conditions, could outperform an asset-backed one if done in the right way. That's fascinating to me. And that is the heart of DeFi. Now, whether we want tokens that are backed by an asset like the US dollar that is so enthralled to its own government, well, that's a different thing, but it's a stepping stone, right? I think you can also learn to love other chains. So Arbitrum, Polygon, Avalanche, Near Protocol, Harmony, Kusama, Akala. There is innovation happening everywhere, but sometimes we just can't see it. And it's easy to get caught up in gas prices, and gas is extreme and it's crazy, but you have alternatives. The problem is it's on you to go and find them. You can't just simply put your hand up and say, well, I had no other choice. No. You have a choice. And it's up to you whether you want to exercise that choice or not. Now, here's the wonderful thing about it. Protocols need you. They need your liquidity. They need you to play the game. If you are sitting and holding, which is what tends to happen in a bear market, you're of no use. None at all. Protocols need you and they will incentivize you. But you don't have to take outsized risks. That's the point, which is why we learn to love stablecoins. We learn to love assets that create bear market resistance. Nothing is fully bear market resistant. How could it be? But being active and being in a position where you can be active it's essential to this whole journey. It's about agency. It's about giving you control over your own destiny, about being resistant to other things that are thrown at you. So you can learn to love learning. Start with savings products, Compound, Anchor, Orion Money, and Yearn, for instance. Learn about hedging strategies. So we're going to be looking at the Nexus Delta Neutral product. We're going to be looking at the Fold product and those things like derivatives. So learn what options are. Learn what futures are. that's the next level up. But you can start with something small and go through and go through. And then farming is really, for me, it's the apex, it's the top. It's the one where there's the biggest risk, the biggest reward, but it's also the one that's hardest to understand and demands the most time management. So there's lots of different tiers here, but learning about all of them has been the greatest privilege of being, a participant on this channel and working on this channel, is forcing myself to learn things that I would normally not bother to learn. And it's given me exposure to Pendle, to Alchemix, to Barnbridge, to products that are really genuinely exciting and interesting. And learn to disagree with people, i.e. think for yourself. Not everybody is right, and we should challenge them. And I think the best spirit of anything is a spirited debate about, whether it's regulations, whether it's a particular consensus mechanism. I think it's really healthy to debate. And I remember, again, working at Harmony, there was such a great energy around Saturday afternoon sessions where people would come and talk and discuss and debate. And I think that gets lost in the heat of the market. Everything seems to be a zero-sum game, but it's not. It just isn't. So we should really start to learn how to disagree with people and not just throw crap in the comments section, because it's so dumb. But that's a hard skill to learn. And learn to love being wrong. I love being wrong. I love being told, you know what, my bias was completely upside down, because I know in the process that I've actually gotten further. I don't want to be comfortable. I don't want to be complacent. It's not a failing being wrong. It's an opportunity to improve. That takes some time to wrap your head around, but it's important. And then participation. I mean, we get told that we should participate constantly, and it's difficult to be able to put your hand up and say, you know what, I'm participating. But becoming a liquidity provider, that's participating. Just being active in a Discord channel, that's participating. We all get that immediate feedback. Cooper Trooper, who used to write articles for the Defiant, has become something of this DAO guru, which is a term I'm sure he would hate if you dropped it on him. But he always writes about the need to just participate and get started. And it's very, very easy and very, very cheap to do so. You can experiment so much. You can meet with other people. You can take an idea on a Friday evening and have a product on Monday morning. It's rapid prototyping. It's a yes culture. So as he says, no amount of reading can teach you as much as making an on-chain transaction. You kind of need to experiment. And again, the pushback on that is ETH is expensive. We'll get to how you can bypass that. And he says, sit at the intersection of building and investing, work in the trenches and back all-star foundings. There is this opportunity to talk to the people who are going to be the next Mark Zuckerbergs and converse with them and have those kind of conversations. But it takes time to get to the point where you're comfortable with that. But it's never been as easy to connect with them through Discord, through Telegram, and have those kind of conversations, which is wild. So I guess the challenge that we have here is we shouldn't overshill and we shouldn't oversell, and we need to allow people to participate safely. And there's lots of different tools for doing that. If you've spent time in NFT communities now, you'll have interacted with Collabland, for instance, and started to see ways in which you can use tokens to vote on things. But it's important that we do that because participation is still low when it comes to DAO governance. So final thing is practice. And how do you do that? Well, InstantApp, we've got Barnbridge here, we've got DeFi Saver. These are tools where you can simulate a position. So on Barnbridge here in the Smart Alpha, we've actually covered that on the channel previously. You can simulate how your pool will be given certain conditions. So depending on whether you're in the junior side or in the senior side, everything changes, and you can simulate all of that. So you can have a look and say, okay, well, this is what I would do. And then you see what happens in the market, test out that strategy. You spend nothing. Similarly with InstantApp, you can actually simulate all of the activity that you would do on InstantApp. DeFi Saver. We've covered this one on the channel before. You can set up positions on MakerDAO, on Compound, Aava, and Reflexer. But on top of that, you can build your own money Legos. You can actually get in there and start saying, okay, well, I would take this. I think there's an opportunity here. I would take a loan out on Compound and I would put it into Aava, and then I would take that token and drop it into this farm. You can actually do all of that in real time as if it were real money, but it's a simulation. So you've spent nothing. And then you would see how that would play out. You would see what your savings would give you, and you can model it. And that's cost you nothing. And that's how you practice. Now, you can take those same tools and those same ideas and go and play on Avalanche or on Binance Smart Chain or wherever you think there's a good opportunity. But fundamentally, the skills you need can be learned without spending any money at all. And that's just being smart. So that was 13 strange and weird and wonderful ways to win at DeFi. Apologies for the clickbait title, but it was just a kind of an opportunity to get some fundamentals and talk about some kind of real basic stuff. Because at the end of the day, there's really only one reason to be active in this space, and that is resistance for me. It's resistance to whatever will be coming. And it's exciting to be farming and everything else. But really, the money, the value that you create is yours and should remain yours unless you decide to do something stupid with it, in which case that's on you. But apart from that, just stay with you. And for me, DeFi offers us the best opportunity I've seen to do so. So I hope that was helpful. That was today's tutorial. We'll be back with a more traditional tutorial next week. But until then, see ya.